a boy grown amongst men. And I felt the only way that I could prove myself a man was to do a lot of things violently. So the first 28 days I was in prison, I had my first fight. And, it kind of just progressed from there. And
yeah, because you're a kid pretty much, and now you're housed among men.
Right.
And that's a whole different situation because the prison system in itself have their own rules and they have their own culture. So that's a whole different thing. So yeah, you have to go in a certain way because you're surviving. But the other thing is, because I understand this, the anger that you felt, the anger, and their expectations are saying, the people that are running the prison are saying, don't fight, don't get in trouble, don't do this and that. But if you throw a child into that situation, they're going to be angry. They're either going to be angry and act out, or they're going to do the opposite. So from my understanding, like we have talked before, you said you were angry. And I don't, I understand that. I understand that. So how long were you angry? Did you ever get to a place where you were kind of trying to settle in there? Or did it take you some years?
Well, it took years. And, of course, in any lifestyle, not just prison, you kind of evolve from an adolescent, teenager, young adult to a grown-up. And that evolution wasn't any different in prison. And, it took me to scrape some bruises to figure those things out as well. And believe it or not, going to administrative segregation a lot that, people in layman's term call the hole, was a big part of that evolution. You have a lot of time to sit back there and think about, a lot of the things that you were doing, a lot of the anger issues, a lot of the trauma that has been inflicted on your life, the loss of parents, the lack of family support and care, mailman just walking past your cell every day, not getting any mail from anybody. These things take a toll on you. And if you're not mentally tough to sustain all those things, you literally will fold.
Yeah, exactly. And I know the prison system have a lot of programs that they try to encourage inmates to get involved in. Did any of that ever motivate you?
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Living that life in prison, did anything say to you like, oh yeah, I can do some of these programs, or yeah, maybe, this will work for me? Did you ever try any of that?
I did. I tried a lot of those things, and I went to those classes and stuff like that, but I'm housed on a level 4 GP, and not until recently was a lot of those programs accessible to level 4 inmates. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of society that see people, doing good things and providing themselves with a better chance at going home through the parole board system, through legal litigation and stuff like that, and people graduating from high school, people getting their GEDs, people getting degrees in college and stuff like that. But a lot of those things, a lot of those programs are not on level 4s. And that's not to minimize the productivity that people on lower levels are doing, but a lot of those programs and educational opportunities were never there for me.
Yeah, and my thing is, okay, if you were sentenced 10 years, okay, and they had these programs or things for you to do or whatever, so because your motivation is, when I get out, I'm going to be able to do this or that or whatever because I have, acquired some knowledge, some education, some skills. But if you're given 200 plus years, what's your motivation to do that?
Yes.
Other than to kind of fill in the time, to have something to do.
Right. And ironically enough, the people that assisted me in understanding what my motivation is were people that were children when I left the streets, that grew up to be productive citizens in society, that I was pleasant with calling my nieces and nephews and my sisters, and aunts like you. You guys are the ones that allow me to understand hope. Because like you said, coming into prison early, only thing that you want to do is, violent things. The same thing that you did was on the street. There was no hope and anything like that. It's like, until now, the parole system was a joke. And going to the board was non-existent. So there was nothing for me to work towards, in terms of goodness. I didn't want to do any of those things. So yes, it's really, really difficult to explain, and it's one of those things that you just have to be here to understand it from your own perspective and kind of come up with your own perception of things. And I can, until my face turn blue, I can try to explain it to you and everybody that's listening. But if you're not really there to experience it yourself, you probably wouldn't even understand it, especially if you never walked a step in the shoes that I've walked in.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to close this session of A Different Side of the Inside, but we'll be back, and we're going to keep this podcast going. We are determined to get someone to hear. We are determined to get these people home, and so they can, they're in their 40s now, late 40s, so they can build their life up, because you put a child in that situation, it's like, oh, I'm throwing you in here, throwing away the key. The prison system has no rehabilitation. We all know that. We sometimes go along with what they're saying, but the prison system is the only place where slavery is legal. So we're going to end this segment, but Lonnie, before we go, I want you have any final words before we close out?
I do have some final words, and just like you said, we're in a system, every time we work out, we always start on our left side, because the system we're in isn't right, but there is, a lot of hope that has been given to inmates, from the outside, from, people that's a part of the family that love us and care for us and want us to come home and stuff like that. And there are a lot of groups, and one of my favorites is the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, the ARC, the Human Rights Watch, Homeboy Industries, and countless others that are relentless in attempting to go to assemblymen and congressmen and even to the White House to attempt at getting people productive chances of coming home. And people that have been convicted of some of the most heinous crimes ever committed. But I think one of the special things is what Kim Kardashian is doing. And she's talking about rehabilitation rather than just solely focusing on wrongful convictions, which is rightfully so. But there is just that many people that has rehabilitated themselves.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
As there is people that are wrongly convicted. So I just want, the public to understand, society to understand that there are people that has rehabilitated themselves, but the one act that has been committed, entire lives have been based. And I don't think that's right at all. And of course, I have advocates, one being my auntie, Deborah Judge, that is telling people and want people to understand that, rehabilitation matters and it counts. So anything that we can do to get the attention of some of these groups to assist us in resentencing laws and stuff like that and overhauling the parole board system, we're going to do it, throughout the duration of this podcast. But, of course, this is just the beginning. So please keep listening.
Please keep listening. Share with your family and friends. And we'll be seeing you next time from the different side of the inside.